Greetings, church family. Paul Austin, your worship pastor here, and I would like to share with all of you another one of my favorite hymns and the story behind that hymn. Today we are looking at the song, There Is a Redeemer. This hymn was written by a woman named Melody Green. Melody is most well known for being the wife of the late Christian musician Keith Green. Keith Green was a top-selling Christian artist in the late 70s and early 80s, and he died in a plane crash at the age of 28. Melody was not with him on the plane and is alive and still ministering to people today. Melody was born in Hollywood and grew up in California. Her family was Jewish and her grandfather was a rabbi. Being Jewish, Melody already knew there was a God, but to her he felt distant. In her teens and early 20s, she was involved in the hippie drug culture, but her biggest quest was her search for a genuine connection to the God she believed must be there. As a child, she'd gone to Sabbath school, but her quest led her to study Eastern philosophies, astrology, mysticism. She even went to Japan with a group of Buddhists. But like everything else, it didn't grip her spirit in a lasting way. After college, Melody designed clothing in the famed Garment District of Los Angeles, and later she took a job at a production company. It was there that she met Keith Green, an aspiring musician who was on a very similar spiritual journey. Within a year, they were married and continued their spiritual search together. In 1975, they were invited to a small Bible study, and their lives were changed forever. Melody finally found the truth she had been looking for. She and Keith understood that in Jesus, they had found their one and only true Messiah. After coming to Christ, Melody and Keith decided to just do what the Bible said. They opened the doors of their small home and took in kids with drug problems and surprise pregnancies, usually leading them to the Lord. They also had potluck dinners and Bible studies for their whole neighborhood, going door to door to invite people. Before long, more space was needed, so they bought or rented a total of 6 more homes, built triple-high bunks, ate donated food, and kept on growing. In 1979, feeling a need to leave California because of the rehab work they were doing, they moved their flourishing ministry, which was called Last Days Ministries, to a ranch in East Texas. Melody still traveled on Keith's concert tours, where she ran the soundboard, sold albums, and as always, she and Keith wrote music together wherever they could. By 1982, their ministry had a worldwide impact with nearly 100 people on staff. Melody was editing the Last Days magazine, which was a newsletter they sent out to thousands of people, as well as writing many of its articles. Keith's music was at the top of the charts, and new facilities were built at their ranch, and more were in the planning stages. Then one day in July, a tragic accident changed everything. Keith and 2 of their young children, along with some visiting friends, went for a ride in the small plane at the ranch. Keith met the pilot on the runway and everyone jumped into the plane. But the plane did not get the needed lift, and just 20 seconds later, it crashed in a neighboring field and burst into flames. There were no survivors. When Keith died, he was just 28 years old. Melody's son, who was almost 4, and daughter Bethany, who was 2 years old, were on the plane with their father. At the time, Melody was at home with their 1-year-old daughter Rebecca, and she was 6 weeks pregnant with their 4th child. Melody says, "The rug was yanked out from under my whole world that day. Without the Lord and the support of my friends, I never would have made it." But she did make it, and she continued to lead Last Days Ministries. In 1985, Melody became a forerunner in the tiny but budding pro-life movement. She says, "The Lord told me to move abortion up to the front burner." So she launched Americans Against Abortion at a time when pastors rarely mentioned abortion or felt believers should even address it. During that time, Melody crossed the nation teaching the biblical perspective on caring for life and urging all believers to take a determined stand. She supported only nonviolent means of protest, yet she had to wear a bulletproof vest wherever she spoke because she constantly received death threats. Melody spoke in churches, held rally on the Capitol steps, led citywide marches, and picketed abortion clinics. She was even arrested once during a peaceful protest, spending the night in an inner city jail and going home with a head injury. In the following years, God opened many unforeseen doors for Melody. She went to India and met Mother Teresa. She was also invited to the White House to meet with presidents and senators. She likes to say, "I sat in dirt in India and wore silk to the White House." How weird is that? Melody faced several personal tragedies and losses throughout her life, but she emerged from each one with a greater gratitude to God and more comfort to share with those around her. She says, "Today, I have more faith in God's goodness and ability to provide than ever before. Even when terrible things happen, He can turn those things toward our good, but only if we have the patience to wait while we are hurting." Here is her song, "There is a Redeemer." There is a Redeemer, Jesus, God's own Son, precious Lamb of God, Messiah, Holy One. Thank you, oh my Father, for giving us your Son, and leaving your Spirit till the work on earth is done. When I stand in glory, I will see His face. There I'll serve my King forever in that holy place. Thank you, oh my Father, for giving us your Son, and leaving your Spirit till the work on earth is done. Thank you, oh my Father, for giving us your Son, and leaving your Spirit till the work on earth is done. Melody lives today in Hollywood, California. Her daughters are both happily married and following the Lord with their husbands. If you are not familiar with the music of Keith Green, I would encourage you to find one of his albums and listen to it all the way through. It is truly anointed music. I would also highly recommend that you read the book No Compromise, which is the biography that Melody wrote about her husband. It is an extremely moving book. See you next time.